Hey everybody, I'm Phoenix Carnevale and welcome to the Knockout Life. This is my brand new podcast, episode 1. So thank you for joining me. What are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? Well, listen, it's not just going to be MMA. It's not going to be combat sports. If you know me from that, you also know I'm a bit of a nerd, fitness nerd, lifestyle nerd. We all want to live better, healthier, happier lives. And in my 20-year career, I've met some pretty high achievers and I have some really awesome friends. So when you leave, I want you to be inspired. I want you to have a good time, maybe learn something, maybe laugh a little bit. That's the most important thing about this show. It should be joyful. And that kind of goes with today's theme and today's guests. Before I tell you, I want you to make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is the Knockout Life podcast. Subscribe on Instagram, which is the Knockout Life, so that you don't miss any of the cool guests that we will be having on. And we can communicate. You can tell me what you want to hear more of. You can tell me topics you want to learn about. Okay, I'm excited about this one because for my first guest is one of my dearest friends. This is former UFC welterweight champion Matt Serra, UFC fighter, jiu-jitsu coach, dad, nerd, and one of my old buddies. We're going to be talking about living life joyfully and how that actually helps with your success, especially if you're an underdog. Now, Matt has one of the biggest upset stories in mixed martial arts history by knocking out UFC welterweight champ Georges St-Pierre, the golden boy of the UFC at the time. Matt was very doubted. He was the underdog. And, this is one of his biggest stories, but it's not the only cool thing about him. It's just, I think, sometimes we can feel really defeated. Sometimes we could be really doubted. Sometimes we feel like we don't have a chance in hell, that life is up against us. And someone like him teaches us the value of just going for it. And not only going for it, but living life joyfully, playfully, having a great time. So I'm happy to welcome and have a very good time with my dear friend, Matt Serra. That you're probably just coming out of jiu-jitsu. Is that correct?
No.
You're just wearing gi pants because they're just comfortable and that's how you roll.
You saw me with my gi pants when I fixed the shade. I wear gi pants. We're on. This is what started.
We're on.
I'm so excited to be the first guest on your podcast. And yes, I am wearing gi pants because they are comfortable. And it's how I like to relax. I wear them more than anything. A matter of fact, the guy that does my clothing, I go, yo, get me a sample of gi pants with pockets. He gave me one sample with it, and I just kept those, and I didn't get any more made.
Let me explain.
That's not a great story to start with,
No, it is, because from the woman's perspective, I'm glad that you're disturbed with having pants for no pockets, because that's how we've had to live our lives for so many years.
Yeah, well,
when a girl finds a dress with pockets, it's the most amazing shit ever. It's heaven.
It's it's relatable. Me, my gi pants, you in a dress with pockets. Tell me about this new venture you're starting here.
Well,
how did this come about? Your podcast?
Because the gentlemen that are producing this podcast asked me if I wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do it. We work together on UFC Unfiltered.
Ooh, I know that one.
You know that one. I worked with you. You brought me in on. And, you're my first guest because I just feel like there's nobody else I'd rather knock this out of the park with than you.
Or you felt guilt because you'd feel guilty if you didn't have me as a first guest because I had you as my first co-host.
Right. That's right. In your podcast, which is Geeking Out with Matt Serra.
Yeah. Hey, I just got over, I was approaching 20. Now I'm at almost 23,000 subs. But, hey, it's the little podcast I can because, when you first thought, oh, you got jack shit. And then you're like, wow, is this thing ever going to do anything? But at the same time, I just want to have fun. And I feel, what my philosophy is. Do you know?
No, I want to hear it.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm assuming.
I think it's
I'm
life is short,
assuming.
so are we.
Say it again.
Life is short, and so are we.
No, that's a good one liner though. I use that a lot with short people. But no, my philosophy is my outlook on anything that I'm doing is if I'm having fun, usually everybody's having fun. So whether I'm teaching at my school, which is fun, they're having a blast. Or Dana White looking for a fight, me and Dean Thomas, Dana, we're having fun. It gets the right views, you know. And I'm doing the same approach with my podcast. And it seems to be working, which is great. So I'm having that. That's what's good because I don't want anything. I didn't want to do that podcast and be like, all right, I'm not having fun with this thing because then what's the fucking point? You know what I mean?
That's the point, especially when it's hard work.
It's usually good vibes. It's
Yeah.
usually good vibes, Phoenix. We always have a good time.
It's definitely easy to do hard work when it's also fun. So I think this is the perfect segment to why you're a great guest. If
Okay.
anyone asks me about Matt Serra's work ethic, you work your ass off, but people can't tell sometimes only because you're having so much fun when you're doing it.
That's I'd say that's a fair assessment.
I'd say it's a fair assessment too, right? Like you're a phenomenal coach, phenomenal teacher. I think you're so good at teaching because you make people feel relaxed because they are having fun in the space. You always absorb things when you like, I find I learn better when I feel creative. I don't feel super stressed out. Have you found that? Like, is that your style of teaching?
Yeah, as far as when I teach, my goal is to make my students better, to make them dangerous, you know. But you know, sometimes people teach and they're enthusiastic, but they'll teach something that's exciting for them, what they just learned, because it's very exciting for them. But that could be, you know, X guard into an ashi into a heel hook, and then it might be exciting for a new student also, but they should not be learning that. You know what I mean? So in other words, let's say there's a white belt class, and I have somebody. Oh, this just happened recently. I had one of my black belts cover a white belt class, and he was showing an X guard variation, and it was awesome. But at the same time, I have an intermediate advanced class going on. That should be in that class. That's what you're teaching. You're teaching an intermediate class. Know why? Because in this class, this is a fundamentals class. You put any of these guys in a headlock, mount them, or get cross-eyed, they might not be able to get out. They got to be able to survive a fight first before we start talking about getting our 2 points and getting even to a submission hold. So there, I don't know. There's a method to the madness. I don't know if I went way off with that question.
No,
but
it totally makes sense.
My point is, they're going to be just because you did it 1,000 times, they didn't. So you got to make sure you tailor to the crowd. But no, I do have a lot of fun. I teach a lot of mixed classes, which is a mixed level, because I do a 7 a.m. class. And I'm a fundamental freak. I'm big on the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu, but I will always start somewhere, and then we start here and then let's build on. You know what I mean? So it could be very fundamental, and then I can get into some different combinations or a flow afterwards, which the last one, if you guys don't get this, some of my white belts that are in this mixed class, you'll see it again, but that type of thing.
Yeah, you got to give them a taste of what's like a preview of like what to aspire to be, even though you're not there today.
Are you still training? What are you doing?
Dude, I just had surgery.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's right. How's your hip?
I had a torn in my hip that I got in jiu-jitsu, and then I just didn't fix it, and it's just like a fraying rope until 10 years later you wind up in the hospital and you get in surgery and blah blah blah. But my outlook on it is retraining is part of training, healing is a part of training, suffering is a part of training. Like the good, the bad, they all come together, and you learn in the whole process. Am I happy about it? No. Sucks. Bored.
You got to get it done. Sometimes listen, I don't know if you noticed, but man, oh, shit? What are we in May? Yeah, in like a month, I'm gonna be 51. I mean, that sounds weird, doesn't it?
Yes, we're
51?
still children.
Oh man, I feel like do I have to start acting like a grown up now?
No,
You know,
no.
I just visited my studio, and I got my buddy Brett in. Uh he's a stand-up comedian, good guy. He came in from LA. He's really good friends with Christian Harloff, and he's a tech guy. He's helped me with my tech. He's doing the studio over. And speaking of being a man child, I dropped off my VR MetaQuest there because I'm going to be adding that to my channel where they could watch me in VR. Dad Gamer, Kamora Savage, ready for lobby. I don't
So
know. So you'll be seeing me play VR in there
that was
because you know.
like, look, the whole, this is what, like, you're kind of perfect for this first theme, which is kind of overcoming our own stuff, having like a sense of joy and play and dealing with difficult things. And
Yes.
you're considered, and I almost hate bringing this up because I don't want to pigeon you just into this, but it's just such a phenomenal story that it would be a shame not to talk about it for my first podcast. But you're considered one of the biggest underdog success stories in the history of in the UFC, right?
Ain't that nice?
Isn't it nice? Still considered one of the biggest underdogs in UFC history, right?
Yeah.
In your opinion, how has this like changed the story or the trajectory of your life? Like, did you go in thinking, oh, I'm a huge underdog, it doesn't matter either way? Like, what was the thought process of, okay, nobody believes in me, but I'm taking this shot anyway?
Oh no, I liked it. I liked that I was the underdog. I was always drawn to those type of movies of against all odds type of movies, especially the Rocky movies, as you know. And I liked it. I felt like I was living that movie. Up until that point, you know, I never got finished besides the Shoney match where I was running into things because of inexperience. Man, did I not that we're getting into the underdog role, but when I got on, because this just sticks out in my head because I had Eve Edwards on my podcast the other day. You know, there was a lot of learning on the job with me in the UFC where my stand up was nowhere near the level it should be when you're fighting in the UFC because I just spent so much time with my jujitsu. And you got to understand, at the time, it was a different time where people started putting it all together. Where right before that, jujitsu was just taking over, and it's almost like it went through a time in the early UFC where it's like, especially with me, which being under the Gracies, where you adapt a style of a philosophy of just trying to get the fight to the floor, never exchanging. That's a big no-no because it gives them a chance to knock you out. And then you remember how the philosophy was in
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. So I had to actually unlearn that. So this what stands out in my head right now is like when I got in the UFC, I had I had like 8 fights, but like literally I had like one legit good guy. I mean, they were tough guys, but they sucked on the floor, even if they outweighed me, except for one guy named Kamzat, a judo guy, sambo guy, that was legit, and I ended up strangling him. But I had no experience. I never went first past the first round. When I fought Shoney, he had like around 100 fights. When I fought Eve Edwards, he had 28 fights. I just found out 28, almost 30 fights. Anyway, so my point was, I went in there with that style of never exchanging, still kind of imprinted in my brain, and then I had to learn to stand up on the job. So by the time I was developing it. If you watch me fight Matt Hughes, Frank Trigg, George, the first fight, I point that out the first fight, you'll see how my stand up is. It's unrecognizable. It's just the way I move compared to standing up, compared to my earlier fights. So by the time I fought George, I was still known as that guy to get the fight to the floor and be that jujitsu guy. And that kind of strategy versus George would have been what people what they were expecting. Would that would have been an uphill battle for me because of his wrestling ability and how explosive he is. Yeah. So going into the fight, we knew, me and Longo knew early on that we're going to take our chances standing. So I really kind of knew, even though we were kind of saying it, even if you see leading up to, look, I said, how about this? I didn't watch, the fight was 18 years ago. In the pre-fight lead up, you'll hear me saying, you know, you don't have to be the better striker to knock somebody out in MMA. I go, if he thinks I'm doing one thing and I'm doing the other, I even say it. And Ray Longo would be saying in interviews that he thinks I can knock him out, and guys were laughing. It was hysterical. But yeah, man, I knew what I knew he was at the time, 25 years old, and he was the new MMA fighter, like the new 2.0 MMA fighter, where it's like new and improved. The guy could do anything, where he could stand up, he could wrestle, he could submit you, he could, you know what I mean? And I was known as the jiu-jitsu guy. And also to point out, I was literally a lightweight. Like, I only went back up to welterweight after I lost to Caro because of the season 4. They asked me to want to be on the house. I never had trouble. I mean, 55 is not a cakewalk, but I never missed weight. They asked me to go. So George, he's not making George. These guys not making 155. It's not happening. You know what I mean? So it had all the makings of a disaster. So I understand why people thought that.
Like, you're doubted by everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, and to be able to walk to the ring with that mindset, like very few people besides your inner circle believe in you. There's something in that type of headspace. And we got a little inside scoop. We got a little backstory that you found a comic strip. Do you know the comic strip story? Yeah. So we got inside.
Elaborate. Well, I love comic strips, so I would love to know. I wish the story to be true. Tell me, what is it?
Maybe you remember this, but there was someone who gave us an inside scoop that said that you found a comic strip of you and George in the cage, and the teleprompter or something or TV was about to fall on George in the cartoon, and it says Matt Serra's only chance to win.
Okay, this is what it was. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was like a meme before there was memes, or unless it is a meme. It was no, it was something. It was written on the forums. The only way Matt Serra has a chance to win. It was written. It got people commenting about it on a forum, and it was so it wasn't a comic strip, but it was the only way Serra has a chance of winning is if what dropped on him?
Screen falls on George.
Something drops on him from the
rafters. A monitor.
Yeah, monitor. Yeah, there was that, and then there was exclusive photos of the GSP and Serra fight. It had like a dead body going into an ambulance, like over the thing. It was shit like that. So yeah, it was those things I've been seeing leading up to, which is like, oh man, this is brutal. But one of the funniest things ever was when we were. Now you got to understand, my mindset was listen, at the end of the day, with all the hype, it's a fight. And I felt very dangerous. They didn't know I was doing well with my sparring, was just feeling really. After I won the thing, when Longo was like, he did better than his sparring. I wanted to do what he did in sparring. He does better than his sparring. So my sparring I was landing things and hurting guys. And I felt dangerous. So I was very comfortable. So I remember it was we were in Texas. I had Luke Cuomo and Pete Drago on the card also, on the undercard. So like, yo, let's go. And it was 2007, right? So the movie 300's in theaters. It's like perfect movie you want to watch when you get ready for battle, okay? With the 300 Romans fighting the Persian army. So I'm like, yo, we found the theater that had it in 3D. So we're going now. We're set to go. This is the week of the fight, a few days before. So then there was a couple of the UFC staff. They find me in the hallway when we're going to I'm walking to Drago's room or something. They go, the press conference is in a half an hour. We gotta go over there right now. I go, I'm going to 300. They go, no. You're the main event. We need you. Like, oh shit. So I'm in sandals and shorts and, and so I'm walking with them, and everybody else went to the movie. Now all the other camps are walking over from the hotel to the press conference that's right across the street to whatever, another building. You had AKA there, you had Josh Koscheck and all that, Mike Swick, they were on the card, they were there. And dude, all the camps, right? We get to and then walking over, I'm by myself. So it looks like my camp doesn't even believe in me, Phoenix. It's brutal. So we're walking over there and I'm literally, so I get on my phone, I go, yo, Longo, I'm going to the press conference, man. Get the fuck over here. This is horrible. I'm walking over. I'm by myself. Everybody's with their camp. And then we get to the place and George is there with his camp and he's in a suit and he's got his whole people around him. And I'm just in there like, hey guys, it's fucking horrible. So Longo ends up showing up when I'm up at the fucking thing, going up there. And that's when I really started just having fun with the whole thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, who thinks I'm walking to my death? I was just having a good time.
Yeah.
But
No,
it looked pathetic. What's that?
No, but do you think that sort of fun, like I got nothing to lose attitude was part of how you were successful?
Well, why? Listen, I knew with the paycheck I was getting and the fact that I won the Ultimate Fighter, the biggest thing was that Anne, my wife, was able to be a stay-at-home mom, and I achieved that. So the biggest pressure was in the finale of the Ultimate Fighter. So this is gravy. I'm like, all right, now I'm gonna go fist fight the best guy ever. Let's go. Let's fucking go. I go, I'm a hard guy to be in there with. I knew I had like an ace up my sleeve where I didn't know I was gonna knock him out, but it was a him or me attitude. And when you truly have that him or me attitude where you can just let it all out, try to finish him, technically, of course, not like going in there and do the windmill, but go in there with that mindset of trying to take him out. If I get taken out in the process, so be it. It was very freeing. I felt very relaxed, believe it or not, going into that. It felt like a good day of sparring the second we got going. It really did. Longo had kids in the neighborhood throwing me the same stuff that George would be doing in the fight. And I, like I stated before, when I was in there, at a certain point, like he's throwing a kick, my leg comes up, blocks it. He does, my hands come up, block another one, catch it, throw a punch. I go, what the hell? I don't. It was like an out of body experience until it was over, And then reality came crashing in, where I'm like, holy fuck, that went well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Holy F, I'm the UFC champion. I am the welterweight champion. What also amazes me about that, what you just said, if that was 18 years ago, I know you for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
We know each other for almost 2 decades now.
Almost 20 years. Another 2 years, we'll be like, I know this person, friends of 20 years.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's right. Crazy. But this is why, like, I was thinking about, when I want people to listen to this podcast, I want them to laugh and I want them to be inspired. And I think the fact that I've always noticed, being friends with you almost 20 years, is that you always find a little bit of joy in every single thing. You'll always find the joke. You'll always find the humor. You'll always find the depth in it. Like, I think because you're jokey, people forget that Matt Serra is a very deep guy, like a very, like, if you realize it or not, pretty spiritual guy. Like, you always try to do everything with your heart. In that moment that your hand was raised and you knew you were a champion, how did that change maybe your mindset going into how you were going to approach life, after that?
Oh, after I got my hand raised, how was I going to approach life after that? That's the question.
Yeah, you just accomplished something nobody thought you could. You just beat Hollow Creek. Like,
I knew it was huge. I knew it was huge what I did. And, right afterwards, it was, I didn't really think about defending it or what's next. I just felt like a relief of, that's something they can never take away. And it's wild because it's kind of true. We're here 18 years later and people are still talking about that fight. So that's wild. I mean, that's wild because there's a UFC on every week pretty much. You know what I mean? So it's really, it goes to show you what kind of stud George is, you know what I mean? Because he is truly one of the best ever. So I think that fight, they'll probably be talking about it in another 20 years, which is nice. When if I'm still here, that'd be,
Well, everybody's inspired by their wins and their losses. Like there's a lesson to be learned when you win, and there's a lesson to be learned when you lose. So for
Oh,
she
sure.
learned a valuable lesson about not taking anyone for granted, always staying sharp, like, going in as his best, how to handle a loss like a man, or like a true humble athlete. That
Yeah.
he came out better from his own loss. And you came out better from a win, saying, yeah, it when you believe in yourself, there's possibilities it works. Go in there when you got nothing to lose. Like I remember, I was like, no, I'm not the type of person who wants to beat a person up, but I freaking love to compete. And I've only have a couple amateur fights, but I remember like being okay, how do I get myself being okay with beating someone up? Because I'm a nice person. And I would look
Yeah.
the girl in the eyes and I'd be like, everyone has a day. I'd say this in my head. I wouldn't say it out loud, but I'd look at her dead in her eyes during the face off and be like, everybody has a day to lose and everybody has a day to win. And unfortunately for you, today's my day. And
That'd
I
be weird. That'd be really strange if you actually said that to her. She'd be like, "What the fuck is this girl? This girl's nuts."
yeah, be like, it's your day to lose and it's my day to win.
I like it. I do
Helps
like that.
me,
Hey,
helps
hey,
me.
hey, Phoenix, let me tell you something that's truly inspiring. My wife just won an amateur kickboxing title the other day. Ain't that wild? At 41 years old, she went in there and she is the I believe, what is it? ISKA amateur kickboxing champion. She won the a fight over the weekend. Ain't that
What do you
great?
think the best advice you've given her as she's gone through this journey? Because Anne wasn't a martial artist up until like more recently when she started training, right? Like, what do you think
When
you've given
when
her?
Well, when you met me 18 years ago, when I won the title, she never threw a punch. I
Mhm.
mean, this is what's truly inspiring, and I tell this to her all the time. She never threw a punch. When I met her, she looked like Marissa Tomei from My Cousin Vinny, but she was kind of like Adrian. She was kind of like an introvert, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she'd be at my school outside waiting 15 minutes because she had anxiety coming in because it's full of, savages, and she'd be out there waiting with my Inyoki to bring in, and you know what I mean. She was like nervous, and now she's fighting. She at you know in front of crowds at the Space Theater. She fought in Brooklyn. She would, and I know you know the story, but for the audience out there, she between my three daughters, she would do the kickboxing to lose weight between my kids, and then she loved it so much that she took a kickboxing match. Next thing you know, she's four and well, now she's 5-1 with the kickboxing, or was it 3-1? Either way, but the last one was a fucking robbery, man. Everybody, she beat that girl, and so she kind of had a hard time. So with the judges is what happened. So then she had to come back. That girl let go of the belt. She wanted to take a break, so there's a new girl for the belt. And going into it, this is about talking about what I said to her. This is one thing I talked about to her about from my experience is she was a little stressed out. Like, look, I feel like I did everything right last time, and the judges, what if they do that again? What if they F me again, type of thing? And now I'm like, look, it's just talking about like what you were thinking about now is taking the joy out of this. And you love training, you love expressing yourself fighting and showing your skill set. Keep it at that. You can't worry about things that are out of your control. You know, make it undeniable. Go in there and beat this girl's ass. And we had that kind of conversation. And she did. She went in there and put on a clinic. And next thing you know, she's got the title. So, you know, as far as mindset, like I would always tell her just to, remember what are you getting into it for. She's enjoying it. She's not trying to get UFC or fucking, you know what I mean? So, that's the kind of conversations I had with her. And it's great, man. It's wild. My kids got, two parents that are champs. It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, I mean, I feel like there's some transfer over from the morality in sports to the morality in like everyday life. and you
Yeah.
told her to have fun. Basically, you just told her to have a good time, do it and have fun, and that seems to be very much your mentality with lots of things, right? Is like just have a good time.
Oh yeah.
Things
Yeah.
are
No.
hard when they're not fun. How do you handle that? What do you do?
What are we talking about now? With what's not fun?
Anything, like it's something that it's not fun, it's tough, and you have to get through it. Like what helps you get through it?
Well, in life, there's certain things you just got to do. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, I know I got a wake and a funeral coming up, and I'm gonna be a fucking mess, and it's gonna be like, what do you do? Not go? No, you got to be there and support your friends and family. And the other day during this fight, let me tell you this really quick, which is fucking heartbreaking. But we had Ann, and I had this my other pupil, Tommy De Janeiro, that's fought, and he got a belt too that night. But the most heartbreaking thing about it is, you know, Tommy, and Tommy, he's got an uphill battle. He's what is he now? 4-1, and he's got the title at the Ring of Combat. Uh, and he's a very good wrestler, but he's blending it together nicely now. But what I mean by uphill battle is he's mostly deaf. He's pretty deaf. He calls himself Beethoven as a kind of a joke. The music, the symphony. He always does like this when he wins because he's pretty deaf. But his father, Joe DeGennaro, retired NYPD. He like their parents got divorced years ago, and it's Tommy's the oldest, and he has a younger brother and a daughter and a sister, Tony and Bella. And the father got custody of these kids, and he was he's just a great man, Joe, and biggest supporter. Started training at my school, got a blue belt. During his fight the other night, opening round, it went the distance, but then in the first round, Tommy had him in a rear naked choke when the bell was ringing. Joe had like an aneurysm when it happened, and
Yeah.
and went unconscious and never to regain conscious, and he ended up, passing away. This is out of like a horrible movie type of thing, you know what I mean? So, uh, so his father passed away when his son was fighting and winning the belt. The one thing that makes me nothing can make this better. It's a fucking tragedy. This guy was such a great guy, just a big huggable bear. Uh the one thing that make me cope with it somewhat is that I know the last thing he went unconscious. So, but the last thing he's seen was his son in his glory fighting, and then he went unconscious. That's the only thing that helped me cope with it a little better. Yeah,
Right.
wow. Yeah, I know you say, oh, you're always finding the bright stuff. I just brought everybody's
No,
driving into traffic now.
no, no.
Yeah, Phoenix,
It's
brutal shit, brutal,
yeah.
absolutely.
We can't walk around
Yeah,
happy all the time. Like that, like shit.
yeah, no, I try to be happy, but I do get emotional. But all you got to do is be there for that kid. We're gonna go over there tonight. We're getting pizza over there at his house. He lives near me. He's such a good kid, dude. Phoenix, this kid's great. And like I said, like I'm not even cornering like UFC fights anymore. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm kind of laid back now. I'm working with some amateurs now. Tommy, we're gonna go. I'm gonna take him pro. I'm known as an MMA coach. I really shouldn't be. Like I am, but only but it's got to be. I'm not in it for money. I'm not in it to get my face in the fucking corner. I'm in it to help somebody that if they need my help, and if I'm attached to them, you know what I mean, that type of thing.
Right. So what do you say to somebody after like a tremendous loss, right? Because you've seen the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And
Well,
after you beat George, there was a rematch and you lost to him. And I mean, that had to be uniquely disappointing. But I've never seen you not bounce out of something. I've never seen you not go, okay, well, and then just completely be open and honest about your feelings about it. I mean, I've seen you chat with your old opponents and just be like, oh, that's something that happened. Like you never
yeah,
see.
I don't have any fight at all that I lost that keeps me up at night, whether it's losing the title, losing the Caro, the back fist with Shoney. No regrets. Listen, the day after, you could kick yourself and be like, why laces out type of thing. But you got to understand, a lot of times something shitty happens, and in the moment, you ask yourself, you ask God, you say, if I just did this, I would have achieved this and be. When I got hit with that back fist, Longo goes, man, after that fucking the next day, I know that fight with Shoney, he's like, man, after Abu Dhabi and John Jock Machado, in that fight, if you another 15 seconds, man, they'd be building a statue of you. That was fucking. I like thanks, Longo. Laces out. That ship has sailed. Like, in other words, my debut would have been such a dynamic display of jujitsu. And then but, you know, a lot of times when something shitty happens and you don't understand it, it actually leads to something else. Where if that didn't happen, you wouldn't be in that position. For instance, my fight with Caro, my fiance at the time, my wife now of 18 years, she drove down, she went down with her father, Ciro. First time he's going to see me fight. All my students, it's on the East Coast, so it was in Atlantic City. All my students were down there, family. I almost knocked him out in the opening seconds. I had some issues with that fight, so leading into it, where I thought I can get away with my cardio by running because I could run. But I couldn't grapple with wrestling because I had a torn meniscus right before I got the call. So the floor, when we started going up and down, me and Caro, I got winded. So I gassed out. Now I lost that fight. I took a beating, had a concussion. But now the positives of it. Now at the time, it hurt. It hurt. Even just jujitsu versus judo type thing, which it's, I'm like, fuck, man. I took away all those throws in the beginning, but when you get tired, you get thrown a little bit. You know what I mean? If I didn't lose that fight, what happened after that? Caro got a title shot. There was a title shot there after that, right? Caro tore his hamstring. Then he went down a path that wasn't great for him. Shit happened. The next thing you know, we haven't really heard from Caro. Caro didn't, what happened to him? I got called for the Ultimate Fighter, which was a fucking huge opportunity, which I seized the shit out of. You know what I mean? But that wouldn't have been open for me. And how about this? If I would have got that title shot back then, if I would have fought Matt Hughes a few years earlier than what I did, even though they gave the decision to him, it wouldn't. I probably would have. It probably would have been too soon. I think the way things went down just led to my storybook ending of happily ever after. You know what I mean? By getting the title shot from winning that show. You know what I mean? Talk about and then redeeming how many years later, 6 years, 7 years later, redeeming that back fist in the process, getting the title in the biggest upset. If I did not have that horrible night of getting embarrassed in front of everybody, it wouldn't have led to glory where I'm talking about, my accomplishments after that 18 years later. So when you're going through it, nobody can have an answer why. You might not find one, but it might show itself later on. That's what I found out in life. So whenever somebody goes through something shitty, it's like, look, I know you wanted this, and then this happened. Hey, I wanted to be in the special forces and go into the Marines. I got into I wasn't made for school, obviously. I got into a street fight, as you know, and because of the severity of the street fight, they did not let me into the Marine Corps in 1992. So what do you do then? Back then, there wasn't even MMA wasn't even a sport in 92. I felt like I had no options because I couldn't get any. I didn't know what I was going to do. My mother, I remember she came with a card being like, I was in bed one day. She came over. She like gave me a card like, oh, you'll find your path. It was cute. Because she knew like I was running with the Marines on the weekends. You know what I mean? If I didn't get into that fight, I wouldn't have took that trip to Waterbury, Connecticut and find jujitsu at a seminar what I took and that changed the course of my life. So again, I had no idea. There was nothing even available. I couldn't say, okay, I'll go into fighting. There was no fighting. But, you know, if that changed the course of my life, and that was a horrible event. So you might be going, people in life, just like the cage with a fight with a setback, you could be going through something. Nobody, you can go and you might not have the answers, but there might be a reason for it later that, you know, is going to benefit you. And that's kind of what happened to me a lot. You
I
know?
will say this, especially since now I almost know you 2 decades. I think a lot of it is because of your attitude.
Yeah. Well,
Like, no, because you're open and receptive to whatever possibilities there are, and you go and attack them joyfully and open, and like your mindset sees the opportunity where somebody will like, I could have done this and I should have done this, and you either get bitter or you get better.
oh yeah.
You've just always gotten better from like every single experience, and you've had a lot of fun, funny, creative, crazy shit that's happened to you along the way.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Like what
When I was
other
one of the weird and some of it's caught on camera. And what's weird about that is I don't even know if these guys spoke English. When I'm about to walk out for my title fight, this was they got yelled at too by people backstage and rightfully so. So Diego Sanchez was the co-main event fighting Josh Koscheck uh in Houston, Texas, UFC 69. And now I'm walking out in a fight that everybody thinks I'm gonna lose, but man, I was in the zone. And as we're walking backstage, me, Longo, and my crew are walking to the curtain when they about to let us walk out to the arena. Backstage, the mariachi band started doing the Mission Impossible theme. And then what the fuck? They got yelled at. They're like, "Oh, hey, cut that shit out." They were playing that thing. And you could hear it. There's some backstage footage somewhere where you can hear them doing it for a second. And I'm like, it didn't really register. Rob Longo told me after. And I'm like, it didn't get me mad at the time, I don't think. But I was like, Longo was like, yo, what the fuck? These guys are in on it?
well, how funny does like the Mission Impossible theme sound as mariachi music? Like it's like what? Like I
God,
can't
it's
even
funny, exactly how you would imagine. And it's like, and they had the outfits on. They're fucking, I go, whoa, but I was kind of locked into going to the fight. But yeah, that's wild, man. So it felt like everybody was in on this.
really like a comedy. Like majority of the stuff that has happened to you, it's like if a Seinfeld episode was MMA. Like
Yeah.
shit that's happened to you
I
is
dealt with knuckleheads. Yeah, man. People, I have a problem with just rude people. I just can't stand them. That's why I'm kind of I'm more of an introvert than you think. I'm only social with my friends, and like, I don't like rude
again,
people
I know
in
you're friends
public.
with you a long time, so I can tell you exactly what it is. I can tell
Right.
you exactly how you are, and
Oh
it's
shit, yeah.
admirable. You have the best people spidey senses out of everyone I know.
Thank you.
You are incapable of bullshitting. If you don't like someone, you'll give someone the benefit of the doubt. But the second your spidey senses go off and they start tingling too much, you cannot fake it at all. And as long as I know you, every single time your spidey senses have gone off about somebody, you've been right.
Yeah, well, they're not people I'd want to hang out with, you know. My circle's not huge, but like I have enough friends. I don't, usually, if I make some more, it's just purely natural. Like I'm not, I mean, I try to be cool to everybody, but if someone's at my school, if there's a bad egg in there or a guy I'm not crazy about his attitude, there's a lot of jujitsu schools, man. I go, look, man, there's a place down the block. You know what I mean? Keep you a fucking couple $100. I'm not gonna sacrifice my atmosphere at my school, my
It's too
sanctuary.
dangerous of an art. It's too dangerous of an art to be
And
around.
and I don't want to be annoyed in my spot. I like, you know what I mean? I like got good people over there. Like I got my family over there. So if you're either cool or you just find another place to train, it's not a problem. For me. I don't mind that. I will hurt this person's feelings to save everybody else's good time in a heartbeat. I don't mind doing that.
I've seen you do it. It's amazing. It's funny. I was roasted by a mariachi band as well.
Yeah. What were they playing?
So I don't even know what the music was, but if you're on a New York City,
Senorita, I can't sing, but they were probably trying to get at you. Did they have a rose? Did they have a rose in their mouth?
No, no. When you go on this New York City subway, there's entertainers that come on the subway. So it's like 7:45 a.m. and I got my headphones on. And the thing about you're looking down, you're not even looking up. You get on the subway. And the thing about this mariachi band, I don't know how mariachis do it. Every other band has a 5, 6, 7, 8, and they start. Mariachis just telepathically look at each other and it's like, and it's 7 in the morning. It scared the shit out of you. Like my heart jumps out of my chest. They can tell I'm annoyed. I'm like, it's too fucking early for this. So I don't want to hear it. Even with my headphones, I get out and I go in the next subway car. They see I'm mad and they straight followed me into the next.
That's funny. That's funny. I never saw a mariachi band in there.
Oh, the one train. The one train. There's a mariachi band. There's break dancers. There's a magician.
Like that's the last time I was on there was with you when the Unfiltered was uptown. Remember, it was in the comedy club.
Yeah, I miss that. I miss when we went live. I really do. Those were fun. Those were good times.
Those are always good times. Don't get me wrong, though. I love doing Unfiltered from my house. I could just pull up my phone screen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. I'm excited about your podcast.
Well, we have one fun more segment before
all right, let's go. Let's get into it.
So we got what's called 2-minute speed round, where I'm going to ask you a bunch of ridiculous questions.
Okay.
You have 2 minutes to answer them as quickly as possible, straight off the dome, things that come straight up, in your mind. Don't think too much.
I never do. Okay.
All right. We starting the clock?
Yeah, I'll start the clock right now.
All right. Favorite fight scene of all time?
Favorite? These are. I'm all nervous now because I got 2 minutes. Favorite fight scene of all time? Skip. Mm-hmm. Can I skip and come back?
Yeah, and we'll go right back to it. All right. Movie quote you live by.
Movie quote. Oh, that you live by?
Yeah.
These are all ones I'd have to think about. But one quote that I like is from Dune. The one when what do you call it? Is Josh Brolin is
the collie thing.
Yes, and he's teaching Paul Atreides. But I forgot it. But we'll get back to it. Go to the next one.
I'm back to it. All right. Favorite childhood cartoon?
G.I. Joe. And honorable second is the Dungeons and Dragons. G.I. Joe was great back in the day.
G.I. Joe, and knowing is half the battle.
All right. 100%. Weirdest
advice you've ever gotten?
Weirdest advice? How about this? The most cringy advice is my old buddy Frank Mullis. After I lost the title to GSP, goes to me, and he's from down south. He goes, "Don't worry, you'll get the eye of the tiger back." And I go, "Frank?" He goes, "I'm sorry." I go, "Yeah, motherfucker." Anyway, that's the most. I didn't get the eye. I lost the. Where's my eye of the tiger? Where is it?
No, anyway. Don't reach Rocky 3 for that. Okay. Something you like now that you used to hate.
Something I like now that how about I do this? I was never a morning person, so to speak. I do the 7 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I'm getting up 5:15 in the morning. That's something I never used to love. There you go.
Favorite childhood breakfast cereal?
I never had it with milk. I would always just eat maybe Frosted Flakes by themselves or some shit. I'm not a big cereal guy.
That's time.
One more. Celebrity.
No, we gotta keep going though. Is this
bonus round?
Is this a game? Oh no, go ahead. You're the boss.
We can run through. We can run through. We can run through them.
No. Go ahead. What do we got?
Celebrity crush.
Celebrity crush. I'll say Marissa Tomei from My Cousin Vinny because it looks like my wife. I can't get in trouble with that one because it looks like my wife.
Good. Have you ever been starstruck, and if so, over who?
That's funny. The one time I was a little starstruck, I'm going to say And it's weird because he's my buddy now. I say Nick Swartzen because I loved Grandma Boy so much. That's a weird one. I don't really get starstruck. You know what I mean? I don't. But
It would be
when
surreal.
I'm like, dude, I fucking love that movie. So I guess I'd say maybe him. I don't really get that.
Okay, that's good. I do. Uh, what would turn you into a Sith Lord? Like, what would turn you to the dark side?
Well, I mean, if something happened to your children, obviously, there's something, then, there's no coming back. But, I try to stay to the light side of the force. You know what? I'll tell you what'll turn me to the fucking dark side if they make a season 2 of The Acolyte. The Acolyte was the biggest piece of shit. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Go fuck yourself. Hey, who did that? Not Kathleen Kennedy. Her too. She sucks. But who's the other one?
I don't know. I don't know the girl's
The
name.
director stinks. And the best is when you see all these YouTube people have like these channels and they get all buttered up by what the hell's her name? Come on, producers, get involved. What's her name? What's her name? The one with the
I don't know. I did not like the show. I deleted it. My Star Wars memory.
Wait, who is Anne Headley? Is that her? Which is the one? Anyway, the one who did the Acolyte. They're your producers. Can you yell at them to find out who this is? But anyway, she sucks. And that Acolyte, anyway.
So, on to the next couple. We got a couple more questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know this was getting times.
Favorite athlete or fighter? Can't say yourself.
My favorite athlete or fighter? Like now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say fighting right now in the main. I'd say Marab and Aljo. Yeah, my guys. That's my favorite. I'm watching the UFC. I'm rooting for them.
I feel like Marab is the Balki Bartakamus of the UFC.
Well, I don't know what that is, but if you say so. The what?
Balki was
from Balki.
They're from Perfect Strangers.
I didn't know what you said.
Funny and goofy.
I love Marab's sense of humor, and Aljo's got a great sense of humor too. I think they should do more bits and skits because I think they're funny. It was funny ages ago when Aljo had Marab stealing his cookies and my cookies, and then then he had his wife get involved with it. Oh, it's so great. And for Marab to come over here and he didn't even know any English. When I see him now doing his bits, it's just so funny, so great.
That's what I'm saying. He's just got such a great personality, and we got to talk about that rematch, but we'll do that later. Favorite workout besides jiu-jitsu? You can't say jiu-jitsu.
My favorite workout is jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
That's all. Because even when I'm not training, I'm teaching and I'm sweating doing that because I don't want to work. I don't want to jump on anything. I don't want to do any machines. I will, but I won't. I can't even do weights anymore, man. I got to just do push-ups because my right shoulder sucks. Hey, here's a fun little bit of news for you. I'm going with my Jedi Abe. We're going to Colombia in June next month, and I'm getting stem cells. Getting stem cells everywhere.
I'm so jealous, and we got to talk when you come back because I want to learn all about it because I can't afford it. But I want to do it.
Neither. Thank God I had the biggest upset ever to help me with this. You know what I mean?
See, it all comes back around. Food you can't live without.
Pizza. Talio's pizza. Talio's, they get their flour imported from Italy. Shout out to Rob. And they got one right near my did you get the one near my podcast in Mineola? Not yet.
We've never had it. No, but
there's one right there, and then there's also they opened up in Massapequa Park, so it's right near me where I work, where I live, so it's fun and it's delicious. So yeah, I'll say Talio's pizza.
Okay, I have this one question is really important to me. I want to know as a dad now, like
yes.
the father of 3 girls.
Yes.
And someone who coaches women, what is something you think men should learn about women? Something you've learned about women?
What do you mean? During training?
Just something that's helpful that all men should know about women that you've learned.
Ah, now I'll I'll
You're
put
surrounded. You're outnumbered.
yeah. It's kind of a broad question, no pun intended. I don't fucking broad question.
Huh?
They can't all be out of the park. I will say this. Well, with training, I'll say, you know, just to not use any strength and try to remember that if you get frustrated because they're beating you, don't revert to strength because she'll hurt the girl. I don't, other than that, you think I found out about women? I still don't fucking know about women. You girls are crazy. I don't know. I don't listen.
No, but that actually was a great answer because that's how I got hurt. That's how I got hurt.
Yeah, man. Well, listen. Yeah, and there's also I give the option of my school having a women's only class. You know what I mean? So I think that helps too, because some girls first are, a little intimidated. They want to learn the art, but they don't want some big sweaty, hairy white belt on them, and so they can learn that the girls aren't going to rough them up too much. They'll learn the techniques, and then eventually they feel comfortable enough. And by the time they get their blue belt, they can roll with people more technical and whatnot.
All right, I got the 3 quick ones left.
Yeah, let's go. I don't want to on this thing. Let's go.
What makes a great coach?
Now, again, they have to know the subject matter, okay, what you're doing. And other than that, they have to give a shit. They have to, they have to care. They have to be willing to sacrifice some shit for their guy or girl. And it has to come from the right place. I want to see my guys do well in the ring and out of the ring, in the cage, out of the cage. And if I feel I can help them and they need me, they feel like they could benefit with me being there, I'm going to be there for them, but that's about it with that. Like, you know what I mean? I know, like, once like the fighters start either calling the shots or this happens or that happens, or they start saying something with anything, then I'm like, all right, look, obviously you don't need me, so I'm getting the fuck out of here. Yeah, you know what I mean? But if they genuinely need me, I'm there for them. You know what I mean? So that's my take.
What kind of made you like pull away from all the UFC cornering?
For that exact reason, because I'm not working out. When I got into this, it was to help the neighborhood kids that me and Longo were working with. Like, you know what I mean? So, Marab, we adopted because he became one of us. And then, with the pandemic, things got fucked up where our guys are in Vegas now. And now they're there more than here. So that made it weird, you know, the Marab thing, it's more of that fact that he asked me just now to go to Jersey to corner him. But I will never, and I love him, but I'm not, I wouldn't corner him again. And I don't think I'm cornering any UFC fights again. The reason being, when he had to fight Henry Cejudo, he, gave me a text and said they can only have 3 corners, and he was working with John Wood, so I get it. And he had John Wood in the corner. And then he told me that he could have me back when we have 4. Now, look, the problem with this is you're showing me the pecking order now. So I understand it because you're with this guy every day. But at the same time, you're allowing me back in that corner. Dude, we were the head coaches. So so that made it awkward right off the bat, where it's like, all right, dude, not only am I'm not coming back, I would never come back because, that's just but to his defense, though, he's not a mean-spirited guy. He lives in Vegas. He sees this guy every day. You know what I mean? So I get it. You know what I mean? But I don't work like that. Yeah, I'm not, because my thing is, no one gives a fuck when you're on your way up and this and that. But these are weird circumstances. It's not like he's with us and then just chose to leave. The world shut down. So I get it. And there's no bad blood or anything. I love him, Rob. He still asked me and he said he's always going to ask me. And it's nice. But you know, when I go back in, well, I wouldn't, but all right, now who's going in the corner now? Because you
Like
showed me that put this,
somebody cooks in the kitchen type of thing now.
and I would not be. My thing is, I love him so much. I want to help him. I like. It's nice that he's respectful that he's asking me to go back in now. It's nice, but you don't want me in there now. But you don't want me in there when this. And John Wood's a nice guy. John Wood didn't go and solicit a fighter. You know what I mean? But you know, he walked into John Wood's gym and he put him in that position where it came into where it was funny because the Peter Yan fight was the first fight he's allowed to have four. So he asked if John Wood could come in, and then, but the next fight, I'm removed. This is just the way it went down. But you got to give Marab a break because, again, he's seeing this guy every day. I get it. But at the same time, what am I, one of the fucking expendables? First Aljo, now Marab. I get into that fuck off mindset where I'm like, dude, I don't need to fucking be here if I'm not valued. You know what I mean? I got kids, I got students, I could, you know what I mean? So it doesn't, I'm not taking an afternoon from my family or from people that really fucking need me. You know what I mean? Because and my point is, I even told him, like, dude, you're in good hands now. My exact text to him was, dude, if you really needed me, I'd show up at the gates of hell for you. But you got a good corner. You don't need me. And I love you. We'll celebrate after. So the reason why I'm not there anymore, that's why. You know what I mean? Because I got a fucking code. That's why. I'm not fucking some whore that fucking goes back. Oh, come in this one. I can't come in that one. And maybe I can make that trip. I mean, see if you got enough room for me. Get the fuck out of here. And that's not towards him. That's just me.
No, there's obviously an ebb and a flow to how things go and how things work, and like when things transition and shift, and you have your stuff that that's important to you.
My thing is, as a guy that's and why me and Longo got into this is you want to help guys out in life. Now, my thing is, if there's no bitterness here or nothing now. I mean, listen, I was heartbroken when I got that text with the Cejudo thing. Of course, who wouldn't be? Because I'm human, you know what I mean? And when you're with a guy on the way up, but you look at the circumstances, you have to understand the guy's point of view. And if you truly care about the guy, look how he ended up. Dude, he's set for life. He's a legend in Georgia. He can go out. He could go down to being one of the best ever. There's an argument to be made that Merab never lost a fight in there. That Frankie Size fight was a robbery, and the one where he went unconscious after the bell rang, he made it to the bell. They didn't stop the fight. So fucking, how am I forgetting his name? Anyway, it'll come to me after. The one where he got him, unconscious. What the fuck? Ricky,
Oh, guys,
right?
Ricky Simone. Yeah,
Thank you. Very good. Very good. Ricky Simone.
Well, I know him from the LFA. Like
when very tough guy. So my point is, Marab is he could go down as one of the best who ever did it. And I'm happy now that he has a house right next to him and Aljo are like neighbors. When I went to Vegas, I just had lunch with them like a month ago. So I mean, listen, they made it in life. My job is done. You know what I mean? So I feel happy, really happy for them guys. You just asked why I'm no longer in the corners. That's why. You know what I mean? And it's better that way. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in there with I'm not good when there's somebody besides Longo and my guy there. I'm not. And it's not nothing against John Wood, but it is what it is.
And at a certain point now, especially, it's kind of like been there, done that. It's like your life kind of transitions to more media related things and some other things. Like, do you feel a little like you're okay letting that part of your MMA career go because you've been there this 18 years now or 20 years now?
Well, just listen. If things never happened and the team was the way it was, I'd obviously still be there because I love my guys. But when it's no longer the whole family aspect, there's a chemistry with me and Longo in the corner,
right?
And Al or Aljo or whoever the third guy would be in there with us is right there with us. You know what I mean? So, I'm not speaking over Longo. He's not speaking. You know what I mean? We had a good thing going on. So, but at the same time, there's certain, dude, you've seen fighters, and I'm not attacking other gyms, like I love John Jones, but he went into that. And you could say the same for George. They went over to the Craig Jackson school back in the day. You had welterweights there. What about poor Diego Sanchez? What about Rashad Evans? That poor guy. Rashad Evans he's still scarred from that. You hear him talking about when he had to have his title fight against John Jones, and he hears his old coaches he came up with rooting against him. Do you know why? Because they had the next golden child right there. You know what I mean? So, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know enough of that where it's like, that doesn't sit well with me. I'd never be that guy. You could have that. I don't give a fuck about getting the next champ. But if that's my buddy's dream, then I do give a fuck about it. And if he needs me to help him get it, I'd help him. I'm there for him. I never, when I retired, saying I'm going to be some big MMA coach or anything. That's not my thing. I teach a jiu-jitsu school. My big thing, and you know this, I make good people dangerous. That's what I like doing. Every day, talk about good karma, 50 people at least, I personally make more dangerous and happy. Ain't that nice? You know what I mean? Throw in more if they like my podcast. But, I like that more. It's every day. I feel lucky to be able to do that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of fighters, especially, again, Marab asked me to be at the one at the Sphere. That was the one after the one he asked me to get out of. Right? Obviously, the answer was no. I don't need my Phoenix. You see this mug enough. I don't need no more fucking glory. A lot of guys are in there. I'm with the champ. I got my face in the corner. Dude, I don't give a fuck about that. You know what I mean? So I'm not there for those reasons. If I'm in your corner, I'm there for the fucking
So much stuff that I guess we'll end with this one because
I could blah. Listen, I'll make this a Rogan podcast. We'll go 3 hours. Right now, you probably get notes from Nabil, and I'm like, hey, dude, we got to cut this.
Oh, no, I would say this, like, you have done absolutely so much in your career, from just trying to traveling the world with looking for a fight to winning the championship to coaching people to being on shows to all this stuff, right? What's the one or two things left on Matt Serra's bucket list that you really want to accomplish?
If I could, I am so content. I'm not, listen, you get on next Dean Thomas, he'll tell you about his 8 or 9 jobs and another one he's going to get working. There's some guys that need more and more and more. Not this guy. If I could do the rest of my days UFC Unfiltered, which I love doing with my buddy Jimmy and you when you're co-host, geeking it out with Matt Serra channel on YouTube, fun as shit. I'm having fun with that. And my school, what else do I need? I have my family. I'm living the best post-fight career. I'm living my best life. You know what I mean? I'm having a great time. And like I said, my YouTube thing's growing and it's growing, but I mean, just having fun. And I made it work out more fun. They're going to be doing the VR there soon. I'm doing movie reactions. I did my smashing machine trailer reaction. I just looked, I got over like 100,000 views. My producer just hit me up. He goes, "Oh, pay dirt." No, he's like, "Look, my strategy's working." That whole off. So look, man, there's no more fucking boxes I need to check. I'm not looking to do anything crazy like jump in a squirrel suit. I get my adrenaline through my VR. I'm having a good time, Phoenix. I don't think this is the life I'll be living.
That just sounds like the theme of this, Matt. It's just live your life with joy, have a good time, and take roll with the punches.
Oh, yeah. And don't run into back fists.
Don't run into.
You don't want to do that.
You are my friend for almost 2 decades.
Yes.
And I appreciate you deeply for coming on the show, and tell Ann congratulations.
Oh, yeah. All right. When you get back on your feet and you're back to rolling, you always said you're going to come out, jump in the mats. You know what I mean? So let's do that. And then when you are able to make the train again, you get out and you do my podcast again.
Sure. Yeah. We'll figure out what we'll talk about.
Right. Great. Hey, listen, good luck. I think this is going to be great. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And your mighty producers. Those guys are great. He wrote thank you in the group. All right. Take care, guys.
Well, that was really awesome to talk to Matt Serra. As you can see, he's a really inspiring guy. And most importantly, he's a really genuine person. And what you take out of this is when life throws you curveballs or when things happen, good or bad, you either get bitter or you get better. And he always took his wins well, and he took his losses well, because there was another moment after that moment, the sun does shine again. And I think that all happens because of his attitude and his personality, and most importantly, his playfulness. Doing things with joy and happiness, like, lead you open to whatever moment is next. And being open to whatever moment is next, that next moment could be even better than the one that you didn't do well on. From losing to Shoni Carter or losing to Carl Parisian, and then getting on The Ultimate Fighter, and then being on TV and getting super popular, and then beating the welterweight champion, and even losing to that champion, just finding other paths in life and in success and in fighting and being true to himself. He's a real success story and a genuine human being. I'll tell you like a little old school martial arts story that reminds me of this. When I started karate, I used to read literally every, old school martial art, old wise tale book. And there was this one about, this is what Matt reminds me of. It was called The Old Man in the Village. And the old man had this one beautiful horse, and the horse broke out of the stable and went missing. And all the townspeople were like, "Oh no, you lost your horse." He said, "Who knows what's bad or good?" Then 2 days later, his horse returns, but with another horse. So now he has two horses. And the townspeople go, "Oh, wow, it's awesome. Now you have two horses." And he says, "Who knows what's bad or good?" Now the new horse is a wild horse. So his son is trying to break the horse in and falls off and breaks his arm. And the townspeople, "Oh no, your son can't help you with this work because he broke his arm." And he says, "Who knows what's bad or good?" The next day, the army comes to town, and they're taking all able-bodied young men, and they can't take his son because his son has a broken arm. So the old man says, "Who knows what's bad or good?" Because many of those young men died in that war. So any twist or turn could turn out to be something bad or good. You never know, but it's always different from moment to moment. So Matt Serra is definitely an old kung fu movie or a comedy, probably a little bit of both. And I'm honored to have him on my show, and I'm honored that you listened. So please tune in for the next one where we can teach you something else. And I really appreciate you being here. So this is The Knockout Life with Phoenix Carnevale. Subscribe, do all the things so we could do more of them. And I'll see you soon.